Hello, 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 everyone. Hey, welcome to our Wednesday night live. I'm Kurt. I'm a dad who loves to draw, and I just want to give a warm welcome to everyone who's in the house already, and just welcome anyone who's new tuning in for the first time. Whether you're watching the recording or coming in here live, I am very happy to have you. We have a very active Facebook group. I'll put the link in the description. We also have a great, I wrote a PDF called 10 Sketchbook Habits. You'll find a link for that also in the description. Take advantage of it, and I think you will enjoy it. So without further ado, how's everyone doing tonight? I see Russell's in the house. Hello, Mr. Russell. Up late again, are you ready? Ready to get into our portrait of the night? All right, my friend. Very good. All right, so let's jump into this here. Tonight, I decided that we would draw a male's head. I think we've done a lot of females, and we'll see how this guy goes. But I've noticed in the group this last week, we all could probably use a little more help in talking about eyes. So let's take a look at let's draw a simple version of this head first, and then we'll get into something more realistic. Okay, and as we're doing it, if you have any questions, feel free just to drop them in the chat, and I will glance over here every so often to make sure we are getting all of those. All right, so let's talk about the eye here. Let's kind of work around this just a little bit. All right. You know, with there is this idea when we draw. Let's start with the basics. It's a good place to go. So let's just practice, and I often say this too. A great way to practice drawing heads is to draw cartoon heads. It takes a lot of the pressure off of trying to make it look so perfect, lifelike, and you could get all the pieces in the right place. So let's start off with a couple different shapes here, and we can even discuss drawing eyes while we're doing this. Okay, so with a cartoon head, like our normal head, we need to come up with some decisions. We need to think about different angles of the head. Is the head leaning to the right, or is it leaning to the left? And if I sit right here, let me get this camera good. Okay, is the head leaning forward, or is it leaning back? And then which angle is that? Where's the face looking? Those are the three things that we always have got to ask ourselves. So, and we simplify this by thinking of it as 2D. That brings us to 3D. And that brings us to face placement. Oops. All right, so let's talk about 3D. Let's talk about 2D here. Here is our first head, all right? And I'm just gonna come down like this. And the question I have for a 2D is which, ooh, look at that. Which direction is it pointing in? And you could just try this at home. If you had a pen coming out of your head, is it going to the left or going to the right? All right. So this guy, let's have him coming at this angle. That's going to be my 2D angle. And so I've established him like this. And the next question is he coming forward or is he going back? All right. So in this case, let's draw the brow line as if he is going back. All right. This one here, let's have this guy coming this way. And this time he is going to be looking around like this. So he is looking to this side and he's looking down like this. And let's also do the same direction for this guy over here. This is the direction, the 2D, and he also is looking down. All right, next let's look at the face placement. Where along this brow line is our face? So let's put our face right this direction here. So essentially what we're saying by this is he's looking that way. This guy, let's put it in this direction. Okay, he's looking in that direction. And then this guy over here, we'll say he is looking in this direction. All right. Next thing we want to look at on this is we've got our face direction, we've got our 2D, our 3D, and our face direction. Let's go ahead now and start to put in where some of these elements go. So let's just drop a location where our nose is going to drop in. Nose is going to drop in there. And our nose is going to drop in over here. Next thing we want to do is to drop, drop an eye, drop an eye. Look, this one is a little bit smaller than that one because it's further away from me. This next little circle here, this is going to be considered the barrel of the mouth. Now, since this is, he's looking away from me, I want to make sure that this is a little bit larger on this side than it is over here, okay? And the barrel of the mouth goes right behind the bottom of the nose, follows these lines, and comes right around in here, okay? It sits right behind our chin. And let's put one on this guy here as well. And this guy as well. All right, next thing I want to be aware is where the temples go. Temple goes right along the brow line. And then we're going to cut off the side of the head, side of our skull there. Drop a center line there. Then we're going to drop down our chin or our jaw line. And right here where you could feel the corner of the jaw where it drops down from the ear and then it swings around, this is going to line up right with the mouth. So in this case, we're coming around like that. This one's going to drop down. Remember, these are cartoony. These guys are very cartoony, so they don't have to be accurate, but we still want to make sure that our anatomy of the face or our construction of the face is looking good. So that's going to be our basis for what we build all of our features on. So even when I'm drawing a more realistic drawing like we will shortly, these are the things that are in my mind. So if you wanted to practice something, this is a great exercise to practice. And you don't have to take it to its final, just take it to this point where you're able to start recognizing these shapes, the relationships there are between each other, look at a photograph and try and draw this many times over and over. So let's take a look at let's discuss eyes for a quick second. Here we got some time. All right. When I draw an eyeball, I always like to start with, I like to think of the sphere. And when I'm drawing a sphere, I am thinking of the eyelids that fit. Pretend like this is my eyeball here. You know, the eyelid is going to fit over this, and so when the person closes their eyelid, it's going to come down. So if you think of your eyelid as this flap of skin that's coming up, and then we have our lower one that's coming up like this, if you start thinking of volume, you will be very amazed of how much your mind will get around with drawing an eyeball or an eyelid, an eye. So let's start here, and I'm going to come up and down. Your iris will float in there. Okay. We always have there's this part of the eye will change, depends on the nationality of the person that you're drawing. Eyelid is going to get a bit of a shadow here. Let's do another one over here. In fact, let's do two. So there are my eyeballs. I'm going to put my irises in so I get a sense that I can make sure that this is looking in the right direction. I'm going to put these lines in here to kind of guide me toward where the openings will start and end. Let's get this one over here too. This guy's mad. All right. Eyelids on top, and I just keep thinking that I'm building this on a sphere. Shadow underneath the eyelid there. Okay, so we just want to keep thinking that we are wrapping these eyeballs. Let's draw this one here. This guy's kind of sad. Hanging pupil. this little part here, I forget what that's called, but if it makes sense, we definitely want to put that in. Shadow. Okay. So we can we want to think about building our eyes around a sphere. And once you start thinking that way down the line, you won't have to really draw the sphere anymore because you'll be thinking that way. And half the battle is to get your mind start thinking of construction and volume and mass. All right, let's go ahead and take this away here. I'm going to bring up our gentleman here, and let's start working with him here, okay? Whenever I start to do a drawing, I like to think of it as having three phases. We have gesture. That means it's a quick, loose drawing to kind of give me a sense, an idea, so I start looking at things a little bit more closely, because drawing is really looking at something closely. That's going to run into construction. And then that's kind of like what we were just doing a minute ago. And then we're going to get into detail from there. Oops. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our gesture. And when I'm drawing a gesture, I'm really trying to draw from my elbow. So I'm using my whole arm, not my wrist, the whole arm. And I'm going to start on this light layer here. And I'm not really trying to do anything here, just to kind of get a feel for what things are going. What's happening here? There's nothing wrong here. Just a scribble. Using drawing from my elbow. Can't do this wrong. A lot of times I think of like you're an ice skater. Your pencil is an ice skater, and it's skating across the skating across your page. All right, that's a pretty good gesture there. So I'm going to just set the opacity of that back. And if you were to draw that on your paper, you could start fresh, just to kind of get a feel for it. It's just an exercise. In fact, I'll start fresh too, so we're all on the same page. Okay, so we kind of gone through our gesture drawing. Let's go ahead now and start to think of construction here. So I'm going to start with a oval, with a sphere. I'm looking at the 2D here, and he's kind of leaning forward. It's coming in this direction, I think. And he's definitely looking down. I know he's looking down because if I look at the top of his ear to his temple, it's going in this direction here. If he was looking up, then his ears would be below. His ears would be below it. And I'll demonstrate that for you real quick. Let's just say you have 3 heads. And if the person is looking up, the ears are going to be up there. If the person is looking down, the ears are going to be down there. And if they're looking straight at me, the ears are going to be almost parallel to the eye line. So that's the clue that we're looking for here. All right, so we know that he's looking down. So let's draw a kind of a equator so we get the sense that he's looking down. And where is his face? His face is going to be right about there. That's the placement of his face. Where's his temples now? His temple got one temple right there. Other temples over here. And I've determined that because if that's the center of his head, he's turning away from me. So this distance is going to be a little bit more wider than this distance here. All right, now I'm looking at about where his nose is going to fall. All right. Gesturing in kind of where I see this, his barrel of his mouth. Drawing lightly so I could come back in here a little bit later and darken some of my lines up. This here is a keystone, and that usually represents this area. I always draw a keystone to pick up this shape right here. All right, I'm going to take in the side of his head here. Getting the top of part of his nose. And here's another clue that we're looking down on him, because I can't see the bottom of his nose. Okay, let's get his eyeball in here. Look, I can see his chin coming over here. And let's get his ear in here as well. I'm looking at this proportion. I'm looking at this distance right there. That's what I'm going to try and judge on my drawing. And I could also see his other ear, and that's also quite up high. Okay, and his backside here, where is the, look at this here. Look at this. This is his back coming in, and if I draw a straight line across, wow, that's coming right above his nose there. You see that? these are all the little clues that I'm putting in to make sure my proportion is right. All right, and then he's got his shirt coming in this direction. Excellent. Any questions? Nope. Everyone's doing good. Just chugging along. Okay. Let's keep moving here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get his eye in here. Let's just, before I start committing to this, I just want to see the corners of his mouth. Always looking. Here's the corners of his mouth. Where's that lining up with his eye? Now, of course, I'm drawing this, but I'm actually, if you weren't here, if I was drawing on my own, I wouldn't draw it. I just visualize that in my head. So, with that being said, I think my eye is a little wide. That one's okay. Let's put his pupils in there. Okay, now I'm going to look closely at his eyeball here. I'm going to look closely at his eyeball here. And when I'm looking at his left eyeball, I could really, it's not perfectly symmetrical. It leans way over and then it drops down. You see that? I want to be mindful of that when I'm putting this in. Okay. And same thing on this side. This is coming around. Oops. Almost kind of droopy. The other thing too is about his eyelids here. You could see that the top really overlaps the bottom one. Okay. Tone this in just a little bit more. Let's get his eyebrow in here. That's going to help give it some character. I'm going to shift my nose over just a little bit here. This is getting down to the tip of his nose. Wing of his nose here. Let's just, before I drop that, let me just make a check on a measurement here. Okay, so the wing of his nose lines up on the inside of his eye. And there's this, if I look at the wing of his nose, it's like this. And then I can see this is coming out like this. You see that? That's going on in the on the right side there. And I've drawn this eye too big, so I'm just gonna come in here. I don't like it. So I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller there. Just gonna draw right on top of my drawing. He's got some bags which are important to put in here. And this eye, I noticed in a lot of drawings this week is face drawings, people are not adding tone to their eyelids, to their irises, to the whites of the eye. All right, let's get his mouth in here. This is interesting here. So I'm going to draw the bottom part of his lip. What my hesitation is, I'm just looking at measurements here. Look at the corner of the mouth lines up with the side of his nose. I'm always trying to look for relationships like this. So even though it feels like it's short, I'm going to trust what I see and not what I think. All right, let's get his upper lip here. And then when I'm going to draw these teeth, I'm not looking at the teeth, I'm looking at the negative space around them. So what we have here is something like this. And then his teeth are going to have a bit of a tone. Okay, get his bottom lip in here. And all I'm going to do here is get that line there and just draw a little bit of a shadow underneath to indicate where that would go. All right, his chin is kind of off center a little bit like this. And let's get this cheek now over here. This is almost like, it's almost coming in as like a straight line. And then right where it starts to curve, right about there. All right, then we have this other side here of his mouth. We got this side over here. We really get a sense of this barrel coming in here, and we have it coming in over there as well. All right, let's continue on. Let's see, he's a little bit of a mustache going. So I'm just going to indicate that with some surface lines. And then, of course, we've got to really get his, he has a lot of extra weight on him, but that gives a character. Okay. We'll come back and get some of that tone in just a little bit. All right, so let's get this ear in place now. I'm looking at the shape of the ear. And now I'm looking at, I don't know if we've talked, I think we've talked about ears, but I'm looking for the Y of the ear. This is the Y. Watch this. Every ear has one of these. And some are really defined well, some are not. So when I'm drawing the ear, oops. When I'm drawing the ear, the first thing I want to get is not the Y, but the C part here. Okay. Just that C part there. Now I'm going to get the Y. And then I'm going to come around and get the lobe. Oop. Okay. Let's talk about hats. Oops. Let's talk about hats. Especially ball caps. Ball caps are pretty common in our society, so we want to get good at drawing ball caps. And there's a very, very easy way to do it, all right? Let's pretend like the bill doesn't exist. If we completely removed, let's just say we remove the bill part, get rid of all of that. What are we left with? We're left with a very easy cap to draw, okay? So let me show you what that looks like. Draw that first. Look at that. Draw the cap first. Hello there. Z Cooper's in the house, and we have someone with a name I can't pronounce. But Z, I'm glad you're back. I think you came in last week. Yes? I'm glad you're back, my friend. Okay, so let's continue on with our cap here. Now it's easy. Now we could draw the bill. And he's got some hair coming in here. And he's got his hair coming in over here. I'm just putting in some details here. Okay. All right. Yes. Good. Good. All right, let's go ahead and get some tone in this guy here. Am I going too fast? Are we doing okay? Okay. All right, let's get some tone. Now this guy is interesting though. It looks like he's almost in like, he's in sunlight, but it looks like he's in a cloudy day because the light is not that strong. But let's see what we could do here with this, okay? So I am just squinting my eyes. Squinting my eyes here. He's got this shadow over here. And I'm going to tone in his hat altogether. Just a light overall tone. And of course his clothing also has tone in it as well. Underneath his hat here. He has a little bit of tone up here in the hat to give a sense that it's all right. Let's get this other ear here. All right. I see he's got some wrinkles in his forehead. Let's bring those down. That will help age him just a little bit. Tone on the side of his nose slightly. A little bit of a shadow here underneath his nose. Okay. This is the seam that's going around his cap here. And I'm going to add some slight surface lines. Neck is coming around. It's got some wrinkles coming in here. I'm going to come in here to detail a little bit, erase some of my eyeball here. Just a little bit. I was reading years ago when there's this book called Drawing the Marvel Comics Way, and they talked about whenever you draw a man's mouth, you only draw the upper lip. You never draw the lower lip, but what you do is you draw the shadow underneath the lip, and that